Hello, everyone. Welcome back to In the Yard Podcast with your hosts, Colin Stavala and Braden Cox, as we record here on Thursday, June 12th. Man, we used to do Thursday episodes a lot, but then we kind of
Yeah.
reverted more to Friday episodes. But today, the Thursday, or this week, I should say, the Thursday episode fits our schedule a little better. And yeah, Braden and I are excited to talk some ball, talk some MLB, give some updates, and everything in between. Braden, how you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm excited to talk some ball. It's been maybe 2 weeks. I don't think we did an episode last week. So a lot has changed with the playoff picture. I don't think we're gonna focus too much on that, but a lot of teams got hot. Some teams that we're gonna talk about, um, have kind of lost some steam as of late, unfortunately. So excited to talk some ball.
Yeah, no, I know, Bray. You said you had one team in particular that you wanted to talk about. Let's get into them, and that is your Seattle Mariners. You've always been high. Seems like every year you're really high on your Mariners. And a couple weeks ago, they were kind of rolling there. Like, okay, are the Mariners finally here? But I wasn't getting my hopes up too high. And next thing you know, they're I think you said it's 4 games back of the
Yeah.
of the AL West behind the Astros. I mean, that's not terrible. Like, they could definitely dig themselves out of that hole. But it's just I think you gave me this stat. Was it like they lost like 8 of the last 10 since Memorial Day or something like that? Um,
Something like, or yeah, I don't remember the exact, not eight of their
or
last
or they
10, but
were they were like 8 games above 500. Now they're 1 game under, something like that. Um,
yeah, since Memorial Day, they've won 4 games
okay, well that's not
and
good.
they've lost one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, nine, 10, 11. So they're
So
four and
four and
eleven in their
11
last
last,
15.
right?
Not good.
So yeah, Bray, give me your thoughts on your Mariners. I just feel like this team is just always so like you want them to be good, but they just like can't quite put themselves over the edge. Do you have any insight on your Mariners there, Braden?
Yeah, I mean it's every year. Like I don't even really know what to say at this point. In years past we talked about like, oh well, they've got great pitching staff and it's a good park to be a pitcher in, right? And the offense has always kind of stuttered, but it's kind of been a little bit of the opposite this year. I mean, I know, some players have struggled as of late. Certainly not Cal Riley. Um, but the pitching's just not been great. I mean, even like you don't even need to like dig into the stats too much. They lost at Arizona 10-3. They lost 8-4 on a walk-off grand slam by Naylor, and then lost 2 out of 3 against the Angels. Got swept at home to Baltimore. It's just like things like that. Like it's just killing you in the long term. And like you said, I've only won 4 games since Memorial Day. It's just I don't know. And what's really really unfortunate about it, Colin, is since Memorial Day, the teams that they've played, a lot of them at home, they had 9 games in a row at home since Memorial Day. Nationals, Twins, Orioles went 3-6 in those games, and then at Anaheim lost 2 out of 3, and they got swept in Arizona. So those were like this wasn't even like a heavy schedule for them. Like there weren't like it's not like that they had the Dodgers twice or anything like that. These were very winnable games in
Yeah,
series, and
in games that you got to
they
win if
just
you got to take care of business of if you want to put yourself in the contention at the end of the season, kind of thing.
exactly. And I'm just looking at the schedule going forward, and like it's not like too heavy, but their next three are Cleveland, Boston, Chicago Cubs.
Yep,
Like I don't like that for
it's a
them
tough
right
stretch.
now.
Yeah,
Definitely has me concerned. Um, and like even as you get close to the All-Star break, their final two series before the All-Star break are at New York and at Detroit. And I'm like I don't know, like you need to do something
mm-hmm.
in the next 2 weeks,
Right.
2 to 3 weeks, where you get closer to that division lead, which the Astros currently have, because the way that the Yankees are playing and the way that the Tigers are playing, it's just I don't know. It's just they had a huge opportunity for them, I guess you could say, since Memorial Day. They were killing it before then.
Mm-hmm.
Since then, even though the schedule was kind of favored them, they didn't really do much with it. So sucks. But
Yeah,
Cal Riley, I think, is still leading the league in homers. I think he's up to like 27 or 28. I don't have that exact number, but in a few
26.
weeks
Yeah,
we're gonna be doing
26.
26. Yeah, we're gonna be we're gonna be doing our all-star prediction or our own all-star teams, whatever you want to call it. I think that I can't remember the last time that there was a catcher that was more like unanimous, like this is the guy. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like I don't think
Yeah.
that anybody's voting for anybody else besides Cal Riley.
Hmm.
He's a MVP candidate, I'd say, which is very cool for Seattle. But yeah, that's all I really got on the Mariners. I don't have any like raw stats or anything for you. I'm just like it's
Yeah.
unfortunate because they had an 8 game lead, or they were 8 games above 500 after Memorial Day, and here they are a game below 500, 4 games
Hmm.
out of the division. So tough, but
Yeah. It's
I
weird.
guess that's God.
I was gonna say it's weird, Brain, because like looking at their numbers, like they look like they're a solid team led by Cal Raleigh, right? 26 home runs. He's having a crazy season, like you just said.
Yeah,
Julio Rodriguez like isn't having like the greatest of season, but he's still 262 through 24, 424. That's still solid numbers there. And he's a great glove in center field. Um, JP Crawford's also having a solid season, and I looked it up. They're 15th in runs scored, right? So they're basically
yeah,
like the most average hitting team in the league, but they're 20th
yeah.
in runs allowed. Um,
Mm.
so I think the pitching is what's kind of been,
Yep.
keeping them in it the past previous seasons, but now like their
Mm.
pitching's really like struggling a little more. It kind of just, it's kind of not working in their favor. And, I think I don't want to say they're out of it because they're only, what do we say, four
Four
games? They're only
games.
4 games out of
Yeah.
the first place Astros. Like that's definitely a hole they could crawl out of. But like what you're saying, like if they don't, start stepping up and beating the teams that they have to beat, then yeah, it could be rough down the road. But you don't want a season like Cal Rowley's having to go to waste. Like you definitely want to take advantage of a guy that's that good, having that good of a season as a catcher, let alone. But yeah, and I also want to mention I did have a hot take when in the beginning of the season before it started that Julio Rodriguez was going to win the AL MVP. Not that he's not having a great season. I just think, he's not um he's just not reaching his ceiling. I feel like his numbers could be a little bit better offensively. But
Yeah.
yeah, I'm not gonna say that's the reason why they're not winning games. I just think their top three guys are, having solid, but then everyone else is kind of just mid and having trouble scoring runs. It looks like so. So yeah, that's all I got on the Mariners. Also, it's just like just not aligning for them right now. It seems like, but maybe they make a couple moves here and there before the All Star or before the trade deadline and go from there. So yeah, that's all I got on them
Yeah.
though.
I mean, we've talked about it on here before, but Julio Rodriguez was supposed to be the face of the Mariners, and right now it's certainly Cal Riley. Cal
Yeah.
Riley's put the league on notice for sure. So I'm happy for him. But like you said, you don't want him to have a what was it, 2022 Judge year where Judge hit 60 plus home runs
Mm.
and the Yankees were out of the playoff. We're eliminated from the playoffs, like from the playoff picture, I should say. They make the playoffs. What, like
Well,
2 weeks before the end of the regular season? I forget what year that was, but
so 2022 is when they broke the record. They did make the playoffs that year, and then they got swept by the
they did.
Astros
You're
in the
right. You're
CS.
right. What am I talking about? What
You're
was the
thinking
year?
2023. You're thinking
Yeah,
2023 when he got hurt and he was out for like a
when he
month,
got
and the
hurt.
Yankees just were like terrible until he came back.
Yes, you're 100% right. Um, but still,
Yeah,
you don't want it to be a lost season
I get
at
your
the end
point.
of the
Yeah, I get
day.
your
If you're
point.
gonna if you're gonna have a guy that like, puts the league on notice, you want to hear his name in October. And I worry that the Mariners we're not gonna see that. I mean, I don't have the wild card up. I could pull it up real quick. Yeah, but there's 2 teams ahead of them in the wild card race. Cleveland and Kansas City are both ahead of them. So like, I don't know. You got to figure it out like now.
Mhm.
So that's all I got.
Yeah, I agree. But they're not out of it. Yeah, they still have a chance. But
Definitely not out of
maybe
it. Definitely
maybe
not out
check
of it.
back with me in July and we'll see where they're at.
Yep.
All right, cool.
Cool.
Are you all good on the Mariners there?
That's all I got. All I got on the Mariners.
All right, cool. So let's go from Seattle and let's go to South Philly. The
Okay.
Philadelphia Phillies, they did just win a series against the Cubs. Maybe that could get them back in their groove a little bit. But I think they were really struggling the past 2 weeks before the Cubs series. Let me pull up their scores real quick. I know they got swept by the Pirates um
at PNC.
in PNC Park. I know they did face Skeens once, and it's never in your favor. But you expect them to
Yeah.
win at least one, probably two games, right? If they're
Yeah.
if they're playing. I understand, Harper went down and Wheeler's been out for a little bit. Wheeler's back now. And then didn't they lose? They lose a series to the Brewers a couple weeks ago
Yeah, they lost.
also.
They got swept by the Brewers at home, and then they lost 2 out of 3 in Toronto
So yeah, that's what I'm thinking of. And Toronto, I think, comes to town for them this
this
weekend.
weekend. Yeah.
But yeah, Brandon, is it panic time in Philly right now? I mean, the Mets are kind of a pretty good lead on them. I'm not sure the exact number, but let me pull
Yeah.
it up.
Yeah.
Um,
I don't think it's time to panic, right? Because what I will say is they're definitely a very streaky team, right? They
yeah,
went
they always
one,
have
two,
been. They always
three,
have
four,
been.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Leading into Memorial Day, they won 9 straight. Granted, those wins were against a sweep of the Pirates, a sweep of the Rockies, and then they won 2 out of 3 at Sacramento. So, like the competition wasn't too fierce, I guess you could say, but they were playing well leading into Memorial Day, and then they just very, very similar to the Mariners. Since Memorial Day, they've only won how many games here? They've only won 5 games now because they took 2 out of 3 against the Cubs.
Mm-hmm.
If they would have gotten swept by the Cubs at home this week, then there would have been probably an issue. But the Cubs are a very good team. We're not going to talk about them this episode too much, but they're right now a top 2 team in the NL, and
Yeah.
you were able to take 2 out of 3 at home. I think that you are mostly comfortable. If you're going to panic about anything, it's that you're going to be playing on the road in the postseason probably because you're going to have to. Because right now I don't know if there's anything really stopping the Mets. Anything can happen. The Phils can get hot, and the Mets could run cold for a little bit. But I mean, at this point, it's just win as many games as you can so you can secure the best, opponent because you're likely going to be playing on the road wild card weekend,
Hmm.
you know, maybe at a San Francisco or Chicago or something like that. Just position yourself the best you can because I mean, like you said, anything can happen, but the Mets are rolling right now. So and
Yeah. I mean,
there's not much competition behind you
yeah. I
because the
don't want to.
Braves are bad.
Yeah,
Go
I'm
ahead.
not gonna count out the Phillies, but like I just think they're like they have been for the past 4 years. Just too streaky of a team. Like they need more consistency. I feel like their bats are either hot or they're either cold. Like they either win 10 in a row or they lose 10 in a row. Like no
Yeah.
in between for the Phils. Um, but yeah, I mean, it just like I think a couple weeks ago, like Memorial Day weekend, they had the best record in baseball. And
Yeah.
now they're probably sitting at, let me see.
They're the fifth team in the NL.
So yeah, so
They'd
they
be the
went from best
second
record in
they'd be the second
baseball
wild
to
card team.
to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, seventh in baseball. I mean, that's not awful, but I just think if they want to compete with the Mets, or if they want to catch up to the Mets, I should say, like they gotta just be more consistent. I think. I know they're getting Wheeler back. There's rumors that Painter is making his last
Yeah.
minor league start this Sunday, so that'll be exciting for him to be called up. But I just think just more consistency across the board. I know Bryce is out, um, but they just gotta find they want to. I don't want to see the Mets win the NL East. I really don't. But if the Phillies don't really step it up, I think the Phillies need to get a more like consistent bat in the lineup.
Yeah.
Maybe they could do that before the trade deadline. But but yeah, I mean, if it stays the way it is, like I just can't see the Phillies catching up to the Mets at all, especially with the Mets pitching. But we'll see. I don't think the Mets would want to play the Phillies in the playoffs.
No.
I don't think anyone really would want to, but like when we're talking about regular season for the long run, and winning the division and having that home field advantage in the playoffs, um, I think the Phillies gotta just um, I don't want to say just win more games, but like just find more consistency and winning
Yeah.
games and have
Don't
a
don't
better
be so
formula.
streaky. Don't go
Yeah,
and win 9 and then lose 9. No, that's not
yeah,
good. Let me ask you something real quick. Right now, if the playoffs were to start today,
yeah.
right? The Phillies would be going and playing San Francisco Giants
Hmm.
in the wild card. Who would you pick right now in that?
I see. I think I take the Phillies because they're pitching, right? You'd have probably Wheeler going
Yeah, I
game
would take the
one.
Giants because of their pitching.
Okay, you would take the Giants because they're pitching. I would take the Phillies because they're
Yeah.
pitching.
And that's perfectly fair. That's why I asked the question because I think both teams are strong that way, but their lineup, especially with Bryce out,
Yeah, I mean,
definitely
yeah,
has some
right.
question marks.
That would be a fun series to watch, though, for
It would
sure.
be a very fun series. I'm
Um,
kind of hoping. I would love if that stayed like right there.
yeah,
I'm not gonna lie to you. I mean, anything can happen, but I feel like that would be a very fun series. And if the season were to end today, the San Diego Padres would be visiting the Los Angeles Dodgers, and I'm not sure if you're
oh,
done on all the Phil stuff, but we would have a
yeah, I'm
three
good.
game
I'm good.
wild card series at Dodger Stadium, um, between the Padres and the Dodgers, and I
That's
wanted to shift
crazy.
the
It's crazy the
conversation.
Dodgers wouldn't host after all that.
No, they would host. The Dodgers would host.
Oh no, I mean not host, not have a bye. I mean, not have a bye. That's what I
Yeah,
meant.
yeah. Well, that's where I'm getting at with this is we walked into this season and we were like, wow, this Dodgers team is basically exactly what it was last year, but they got like way better. They brought in Blake
Yep.
Snell, they brought in what's his name, Kirby, and just Michael Conforto. They nailed it. Like their offseason was in many ways, people say one of the greatest of all times, right? Because a championship team that is, near perfect got even more perfect.
Right.
Uh, but they're only the third best team by record in the NL. The Mets and the Cubs.
Yeah. Did we not talk
What do
about
we
the
think
Cubs enough
about?
on here, Braden? Did we not
I
talk
don't
about the
know if
Cubs
we
enough?
do, man, because the Cubs and what PCA is doing
Yeah.
is unbelievable.
Right.
Like PCA, I don't know how old he is, but he's an
I think
MVP candidate in the
I think he's
NL.
22.
Unbelievable. He's another one that I would say is a lock for the All Star game. I talked about Cal Riley being a lock at the position. I would say PCA right now is a lock for the NL All
Um,
Star game.
okay. Oh, his
Um,
birthday is 3 days after mine, but he's 2 years younger, so he's 23. Yeah.
he's 23. Yeah, I mean the Cubs and the thing with the Cubs that's interesting is their pitching isn't like outstanding,
Yeah. No,
right?
they
They
score a lot
just
of runs.
win games. They
Yeah.
just win games. They score a lot of runs and they just win. And in years past, this is what we wanted to see out of the Cubs. And now all of a sudden, you know, going back to what I was saying earlier, we were like the Dodgers could run away with the NL, right? Like, yeah, the Mets, the Padres, like they're gonna be good, the Phillies, right? But like it's the Dodgers to lose. And I don't know if you would have told me in March that the Dodgers would be the third best team by record in the NL. I get it's early. I get it's
Hmm.
early. We're what, probably 35% or so through the season. But I just wanted to get your thoughts on the Dodgers, you know, having to play wild card weekend if it
Yeah.
started right now.
That would be. I don't think it's going to remain that way, but say hypothetically it did end, I'd be pretty shocked. But I don't know, man. I just wouldn't be able to see them losing
Three
um
game set. I agree.
3 games. Like I don't know, just their roster is so good, and they load up. They'd have all their guys healthy and back.
Yeah.
Um, they have that experience
Otani's been
now. Tani has experience. Mookie has experience. Freddie has experience. The whole roster has experience from last year's run, and
yeah,
even from previous years as well.
yeah.
Um, I don't know, man. I would love to see the Padres like pull off an upset. I don't even know if it'd be considered upset because the Padres are a great team as well. Um,
Yeah.
but I'm sure the Dodgers would be favored. And I just think, you know, if it came down to it, I just can't see the Dodgers like losing a 3 game set to it would be the Padres, you said.
It would be the Padres at the Dodgers, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I wish the Padres wouldn't. I could see the Padres pulling off the upset, but if I had to put money on it, you can't count the Dodgers. You can't. But
Yeah.
yeah, like all in all, in the view of the fact that that they don't have the buy after they loaded up and got even better from last year. I think it's a long season. I think they're still going to win the division, and I think they're going to end up at least first or second in the NL. I just can't see. Um, I just can't see them finishing with a worse record than the Cubs and the Mets. I think the Mets. I'm not saying the Mets are bad, but I can see the Mets going a little lull, like in midsummer kind of thing. The Cubs seem to be pretty legit, but I can see them going through a little lull as well. Um, and I think one thing that the Dodgers have against them is that fact that the division is so good with the Giants and the Padres and
Yeah.
even the Diamondbacks compared to the Cubs. You know, the Brewers are okay, the Reds and the Pirates are awful, and I just think, and Cardinals aren't too bad, but I wouldn't put them
No,
as the same level as Padres, Giants, or even Diamondbacks right
I
now.
agree.
Um,
I agree.
but yeah, I just think
Giants are only half a game out of the Dodgers right now.
yeah, that's what I mean.
So
Like they're a good team. I think we kind of slept in or you didn't. You were pretty high on the Giants going into the season.
I was high on the Giants. If you would have told me when we made our predictions for the divisions that we'd be in mid-June and the Giants would only be a half game out, I'd say you're nuts.
Right.
But here we are, and the Giants are playing well, and the Dodgers are still also playing well. We can't take
Right.
away from that. They still have how many wins? They're 41 and 28. Like, how can you be
Yeah.
mad with that? Right.
Right.
But it's just that the division's so good and the NL is pretty top heavy at the moment. Gonna be a very interesting like next week, Colin. The Dodgers just took 2 out of 3 in San Diego this past
Mm-hmm.
like this week. They're hosting the Giants this weekend. So we're
Okay.
getting the top dogs in the NL West
Let's
are
go.
playing at Dodger Stadium this weekend. Um, MLB Network Friday and Saturday, and then ESPN Sunday. Pitching matchups. You got Logan Webb versus Yamamoto, Kershaw versus Rupp, and then May versus Harris. You know what I mean? Like they're just gonna be good
Right.
games. Like if you want to watch any series this weekend, that's the one. But then next week the Dodgers have 4 games at home against the Padres. So we're gonna learn a lot about the NL West in the next week or so because they're kind of all playing with each other.
Yeah.
So we'll see how it goes down,
Yeah,
but
it's
I
gonna be
think
fun.
you still have to roll with the Dodgers.
For some reason, I always feel like I got tuned into like an NL West matchup, but it's like Padres, Dodgers, Padres, Giants, Giants, Dodgers kind of thing. Even when the D-backs play in those teams, just because like it's fun to watch, and we don't really get to tune into West Coast games all that much. So, and it looks
Yeah,
like
usually
the
the Yanks are fun.
Giants are playing the Rockies right now, and I think both games, the first two games, both times the Rockies were winning in like the ninth, and they blew it both times, and the Giants are
Really?
winning now too. I want to say that that's the case. Yeah. Um,
I believe
like
it.
I want to say they blew in like I know they definitely blew in the ninth last night or the night before,
Okay.
but it's just. I mean, I don't think that really means anything. I think this just shows that the Rockies are just bad.
The Rockies are
But
really bad.
but um, but I don't want to see the Rockies be the worst team after we saw the worst team last year. So I'm like
No, they're
rooting for
gonna
the
be it.
Rockies. You know what I mean? Like I think it'd be bad for the game if they're just awful, but they're not on pace to do much better. So I don't really know what to say there.
I don't think that
But
we talked enough. I mean, I'm not saying even on here, just to end with this. I don't think we talked enough as Major League Baseball fans about the Rockies sweeping the Marlins. That's pretty big because that's like 25% of their wins all year.
that's
They
true.
got kind of crazy to think about.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, granted, they swept the second worst team in the NL, so it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't mean that much when it comes to that. But I don't know. I felt like it just should have gotten more headlines that, like, okay, like the Rockies just went on and swept, like, worst team ever, but still got a sweep on the year. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know if the White Sox ever swept anybody last
Yeah.
year.
The
I
Rockies
doubt
were
it.
the Rockies were a couple outs away from beating the
Beating the
from being
Giants.
as being the Giants. Like if they didn't blow those two games, I think they were down to the final out the one time, but the Giants rallied. I can't say for certain, but it was I know the Rockies blow at least two leads in the past two games.
I
That makes
believe it.
sense.
I mean, looking at the scores, they're pretty high scoring games. So I totally believe that they did that
Right.
in Colorado too. Yeah, 100%. Because who's closing for the Rockies besides what's his name, Jake Bird? Like that's it.
Yeah. I don't
So
know. I don't know who blew it, but
yeah, but
yeah.
besides the point,
Okay, yeah.
that's
So
all I got though.
the Rockies were up. The Rockies were up 5-2 in the ninth in the first game. They lost 6-5.
Oh my gosh.
And then
In
okay,
the
in the
ninth?
finals, in the ninth, the Giants had a 4-run ninth inning rally and ended up winning. And
Oh my gosh.
and
I
then
mean, I believe it now.
Wednesday, the Rockies were up three. They were up 6-3 in the eighth, ended up losing 10-7.
Classic. And they're losing
So
right now, so they're probably gonna get swept. It's the
they're
end of
gonna get
the
swept
eighth.
by
They're
by
down
the
two.
Giants. So
Yep.
um
When they had a chance in all three
yeah.
games, it seems like.
Yeah,
So
that's just
never
I
know.
think that's just the way baseball goes sometimes.
Yep.
But
That's all I got though.
yeah, cool. That was a good episode, Braden. Yeah, thank you everyone for listening. Like, comment, subscribe. Let us know if you think anyone could contend with the Dodgers or if you think they're still the top dog in the NL. Let us know your Phillies. Let us know about the Mariners. And thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Yep. See you guys.